When you see a website ending with the .tv domain name, there's a very good chance you think that stands for television. And that assumption makes sense because the .tv domain is often used by some of the biggest media and content businesses in the world, like Twitch, Netflix, and YouTube. But there's just one problem. That assumption is wrong. The .tv domain has nothing to do with television. Instead, it's the country code domain for a tiny island country in the Pacific Ocean called Tuvalu. And this two-letter domain name means more than you can possibly imagine for this tiny country. So this video is about how one of the most popular domain names in the world funds the economy of a country that you've probably never heard of. So let's get into it. This is a tiny island country in the Pacific Ocean called Tuvalu. It's one of the least visited countries in the world, and you probably not find it on a map, but if you looked hard enough, you'll find it right here, east of Australia. The population of the country can feed into 4 cruise ships, and the country's entire landmass is less than 1% of Rhode Island, the smallest state in the US. Now, in reality, Tuvalu is a tiny country that millions of people have probably never heard of. But on the internet, it's going to become one of the most important countries in the world, thanks to a peculiar .tv domain name. Revenues from this domain name generate millions of dollars every year for this country and have become a vital source of income. But how did this happen? How did Tuvalu go from being a tiny island country that depended on fishing for revenues to becoming home to one of the most important domain names in the world? The most fundamental piece to this story is first understanding the idea behind country code top-level domains, which essentially are the characters at the end of a web address, like .org or more commonly .com. Now, aside from the generic .com domains for commercial companies and the .gov for government agencies, there are also country code top-level domains, and every country in the world is assigned a 2-character top-level domain, with each of these being unique so no 2 countries have the same top-level domain. As of June of 2020, there were 316 country code top-level domains registered to countries and territories around the world. And some of the popular examples are the .uk domain for the UK, the .us domain for the US, and of course the .ca domain for Canada. And as you can probably tell by now, this country code top-level domains are usually derived from the name of a country. And for Tuvalu, this means its top-level domain, given the fact that it's got a T and a V in its name, essentially is .tv. But what does this mean for the country? Now, back in 1995, when Tuvalu was first assigned the .tv domain name, it actually didn't mean much. At the time, the internet was still an entirely new concept, but as the internet has evolved into one of the most dominant technologies in all of human history, the value of the .tv domain has increased dramatically. And for Tuvalu, this has been a major economic lifesaver. Because the thing about being a small country is that you still have big problems, like how to generate enough revenues to run the country, to provide and build infrastructure like schools and running water, and also to develop the economy. And if your country is surrounded entirely by the largest and deepest ocean in the world, then naturally fishing will be a big part of your economy. And that has always been the case for Tuvalu, at least until the country realized that it could make millions of dollars every year from the .tv domain. Now again, most people think of .tv domains as being short for television or being reserved for TV-related websites or content. And that instinct, that feeling of familiarity with the .tv domain is literally worth millions of dollars. The .tv domain is not just easily recognizable or instantly associated with media content and organizations, it's also globally relevant to some of the largest media companies in the world. And so to monetize the .tv domain, the government of Tuvalu sells domain licensing rights to a foreign domain registry company for a fixed annual fee. Now this company can then sell the .tv domains directly to anyone who wants to purchase one and deal with all the administrative issues that come with that. Tuvalu simply gets a paycheck every year for doing nothing. Tuvalu first made money from licensing the .tv domain in 1998, when it first sold the licensing rights. And according to reports, the country was able to pay the fees to join the United Nations with the first $1 million it earned from the .tv domain licensing deal. And Tuvalu has not looked back since. In 2011, it agreed a 10-year contract to allow a US company called VeriSign to administer the .tv domain in exchange for about $5 million per year. But that deal expired in 2021, and then it was time to renew. Before the deal expired though, the government of Tuvalu had already made it clear that they believed they could be earning a lot more money from the domain, And a government official described the domain as a really underutilized resource that Tuvalu could be making a lot more money out of, which is just a fancy way of saying
yesterday's price is not today's price.
And so when it was time to renegotiate its deal, Tuvalu eventually agreed a deal with GoDaddy, one of the world's largest domain companies, to license the .tv domain for an estimated $10 million per year, double of what it was earning with his previous deal. And there's a simple reason why Tuvalu is now getting double. It's because online video streaming and content has absolutely exploded around the world in the past decade. And with it, the demand for .tv domains has gone through the roof. One of the most popular reasons for this explosion is esports and live streams of video gaming content. And most of that happens on Twitch.tv, the world's largest website for live video streaming. Now, aside from Twitch, the largest media companies in the world, from YouTube and Netflix to ESPN and Disney, have all registered .tv domains. And there's no sign of a slowdown in the domain's popularity, because there's no sign of a slowdown in terms of how humans consume video streaming content. For example, in 2022 alone, 21 billion hours of live streamed video content was watched on Twitch.tv, earning the company around $2.8 billion in revenue. And today, there are nearly 500,000 .tv domains in existence, making it one of the most in-demand domains globally. All of that means Tuvalu will continue to earn millions of dollars every year. Now, for most countries, $10 million per year is probably not a lot of money. But for Tuvalu, a tiny island country in the Pacific, that paycheck represents more than 10% of its entire economy. And more importantly, the money is going towards building important national infrastructure in a tiny island country that's increasingly threatened by the effects of climate change. Now, it may sound crazy to even imagine this, but researchers predict that as a result of drastic effects of climate change, the entire country of Tuvalu could sink into the Pacific Ocean within the next century.
Talking in a matter of decades, that entire community and society could be wiped out from the face of the earth.
Fighting the effects of climate change and saving the country from disappearing off the face of the earth will ultimately cost Tuvalu and its government a lot of money. And this is why the .tv domain deal is incredibly important to Tuvalu. To the rest of the world, the .tv domain is a fancy-looking domain name that most people probably think has something to do with television. But for the tiny island of Tuvalu, the .tv domain is a lifeline that's bringing in millions of dollars every year. Millions of dollars that could be crucial to saving the country. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, then don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and of course hit that subscribe button. And also check out this playlist of other geography explainers on my channel, like what happens if two countries have the same flag.